Hello everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to be talking about a little bit of a thing that some of the teachers have recognized when they're using the annotation software built into the Newline Interactive Flat Panel. And that little thing is sometimes when they're writing, they seem to be writing in one color and then all of a sudden the color changes to something totally different and they don't understand why. Well, I'm going to explain that to you so you have a little bit more of an understanding. It has to do with a feature built into settings on when you're in annotation mode. So I'm going to tap my little button up here on the menu bar, on the toolbar, and I'm going to get into annotation mode so I can start writing on whatever it is that's underneath my my document camera or my screen or my computer screen or whatever it is. You got the little toolbar down at the bottom, and take a look at these settings. I'm going to tap the settings cog in the lower right hand corner. Then I'm going to go down to these two options right here. The top one says write with fine pen only, and the bottom says write with fine pen or fingertip. And I think that's the one that's selected on the Newline panels by default. So let's deal with that because that's the one that seems to be causing a little bit of a confusion for folks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to write something here by tapping on my color. I'm going to choose the color black. And I'm going to go ahead and start writing. And as I thought it would happen, it would starts to write in black. What happens if I flip my pen over and start to write with the other side of the pen, the thicker side of the pen? Okay? Well, that's different than I anticipated. What happens if I use my finger now and start writing? Because I have selected in the cog settings that I can write with my fingertip as well. So let's see. And sure enough, it writes in green. Why is that? Here's why. The answer is this. The board, or this software on the board, the annotation software built into the board, has the ability to recognize the difference between thin tip and finger, so a thicker tip, writing instrument, and then assign that instrument a different color. That's all that's happened right here. I'm going to choose to change the fine tip of the pen here to blue. And I'm going to start writing in blue. Well, now I'm going to change over to the back side of the pen, the thicker side of the pen. I'm going to write again, but I'm going to guarantee that's going to be in green. And sure enough, that's the case. What about the pen? Or what about my finger? Green. And back to the pen again. Okay, sometimes you'll recognize that there's a little tiny, a dot or something that occurs. And you can just go ahead and tap on the eraser and simply erase that, okay? Why does that happen? The answer to that question is because as I was writing, my fingertip or my knuckle, because I was writing, my pinky knuckle, got close enough to the board. It didn't quite come in contact with the glass, but it came close enough to the board. And some of you have mentioned these boards seem to be very sensitive. They are. It got close enough to the board to recognize it as a fine-tipped instrument. So it started writing in the fine-tipped color. And the fine-tipped color at the moment is blue. So that's why it started writing in blue. So the same thing actually exists with the highlighter as well. Here, fine tip, I tap on highlighter, and I want to highlight this. It highlights in yellow. What happens if I use the highlighter with my finger? Well, it's going to highlight in blue because that's what's selected. Your board has intelligence built in it to recognize the difference between thin tip and thick tip writing instrument. And so pen tip or fingertip, and can change or remembers the setting that you had selected while using either a fine or a thicker tipped writing instrument, and then assigns that to to when you write there. So if I choose another color again with my pen tip, I'm going to choose red, and I start writing with my fingertip, not red. Oh, as a matter of fact, not only is that not red, it's not even the pen in this case, because the last thing that I had selected with my fingertip was in fact a highlighter. So it remembers the last thing that you had selected with that thin or thick tipped writing instrument. So that's the key. a lot of folks wanted to write with their thin-tipped instrument, and then they'll come over here and they will tap a different color with their finger, like purple here in this case. They go back to their pen and they start writing there. Why is that not purple? The answer is because I didn't select the color with the writing instrument itself. And that's the thick or thin tip of the writing instrument. And that's what needs to happen. Well, I hope this video has explained the difference between the thick and thin tip writing instruments and the intelligence that's built into the board's annotation tool. I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you and kind of clarifies some things. And by the way, if you don't want to futz around with that at all, you don't have to. Select that settings cog in the lower right-hand corner and choose to write with fine pen only. If you do that, now no matter what you select and what you select it with, it's going to write with that fine tip only. But if you try to write with your finger or the back of your pencil, it's not going to write anything for you. So that's the key. Settings cog, write with fine pen only or write with fine pen or fingers. I hope this video has been helpful. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. And one of us in the tech team will be very happy to answer the question. I hope you have a great day.